we can already see that multifamily cash flow is being compressed. We can see that there's a little bit of, the deals are only penciling out if you have adjustable rate mortgages on them. And, we were continuing to invest in the multifamily space, but we wanted to be able to offer additional assets for our investors that had the potential to produce cash flow. And not just like, 3%, but, somewhere like after stabilization in 12 to 24 months, upwards, 5, 7, 10% true cash flow.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Whitney Elkins Hutten, is the Director of Investor Education at PassiveInvesting.com and the founder of AshWealth.com. She's also the author of the award-winning best-selling book, Money for Tomorrow: How to Build and Protect Generational Wealth, published with Bigger Pockets. With a portfolio of $800 million in real estate, including multifamily, self-storage, and car washes, she helps high-earning professionals and business owners protect, steward, and grow their wealth through tax-efficient, passive strategies. You can connect with her at PassiveInvestingWithWhitney.com. Whitney, thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you so much for having me on, Dylan.
I was mentioning to you before hopping on here, some of the spaces that you're involved in, there's a lot of interest in it right now. And I think not just from investors, but also from the general public. People see these car washes and they say, well, there seems to be car washes in more places now than ever. And they're very nice. They're high tech. And it's one of these things where people love using them, right? You can sign up for a monthly membership, and however much it is, $30 or what have you, you get your car cleaned however many times, and it just makes sense. How'd you get into car washes specifically?
Yeah, so in about 2019, and just for everybody's context, I am the director of investor education at PassiveInvesting.com. So when I say we in 2019, we were, for our investors, we were trying to, we can already see that multifamily cash flow is being compressed. We can see that there's a little bit of, the deals are only penciling out if you have adjustable rate mortgages on them. And, we were continuing to invest in the multifamily space, but we wanted to be able to offer additional assets for our investors that had the potential to produce cash flow. And not just like, 3%, but, somewhere like after stabilization in 12 to 24 months, upwards, 5, 7, 10% true cash flow. Now, not to say that the, express car wash market hasn't had its own troubles, much like multifamily has, but that was a market that we wanted to be able to bring to our investors, help them diversify their portfolio, help them continue to take advantage of getting cash flow, a little bit of equity growth, and growing a cash flowing business that's backed by real estate. So very unique play there. And then also take advantage of tax benefits as well. And, we looked at so many different things. We looked at laundry mats, ruled them out. We looked at parking lots, ruled those out. And then really landed on the express car wash space because, at this time, even now, even, for people who live in major metropolitan service areas and might see one on every quarter.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
The car wash space is like the self-storage space about 20 years ago. A lot of the car washes, that exist today, a majority of them are actually run by mom and pop owners. They don't have, good marketing to them. They're not very tech efficient. And since this is a business, it's hard for them to have like a scale of efficiencies here. So they have to have like 4, 5, 6 locations before they can even hire a regional manager. And we saw the opportunity to enter the space, start consolidating some of these mom and pop, car washes, scale our own car wash management company. And that put us in a very unique position to be able to do a roll up exit to like a REIT or an insurance company, or, if we're shooting for the moon, an IPO.
Now, when people talk specifically, I want to get a little bit into the weeds here, if we can, about the car wash space. When people talk specifically about car washes, you mentioned that, there's a lot of mom and pops. Of course, this is the picture in my head coming from Texas. I'm thinking of the brick car washes with like a nozzle that you pull down from one of the walls of the ceiling, and that someone individually might own that. But then on the flip side of that, you have like ultra high tech, like luxurious. It scans you in, and then you go through, and everything's automatic, and then you pull off to the side, and there's high pressure vacuums and all this type of thing. Much like real estate investing, is there such a thing as investing in distressed car washes? Or if people are looking at buying car washes now, that they're really talking about, new construction and building one of these high end facilities?
It could be both. It could be a mix of both. And so, yeah, you're right. There are multiple different types. We're talking about express car washes. So not your brick and mortar. I always joke around, you drive a car in and you take your kid and you play around with the wand and you just pray they don't spray you with the hose, right? That type of thing. We're not talking about that. There's no scale of efficiency there. It's very operationally efficient, but you can't really scale those. You can only wash probably like 10 cars an hour. Then we have the car washes that are attached to gas stations. Okay, those are a cost center add to that particular business. Those aren't scalable either. You can only get 2 or 3 cars in at a time. Then we'll swing the pendulum all the way the other direction. Then we've got the full service car wash. This is where you have an army of people that there might be a tunnel. They're driving the car through the tunnel, but there's an army of people drying your car. There's somebody at the counter checking you out. Maybe they have like a coffee bar in there or something like that. Uh, those are very labor intensive businesses. So really what we're looking at is the sweet spot, kind of like the fast food of car washes. So we're looking at the collision of how can we provide this high touch service like a full service car wash or close to it with the operational efficiency of the other tier, the other, the I don't want to call it lower end, but get as much operational efficiency as possible. And we do that by having a smart tunnel, right? A 60, 80, 120-foot long tunnel, where in theory, if the tunnel is programmed correctly and all the apps and techs are working correctly, you can wash about 400 to 450 cars a day with just 2 to 3 full-time employees. And so the tunnel essentially does all the work in combination with the tech. Now, that could be an app-enabled tech. It could be a barcode that's on the car. We're most mom and pop uh, people that we were buying from, they didn't have that technology. Now, they might have had a long tunnel, but they still had somebody that had to drop the car off, ride the car through. Somebody went in to pay. There was no technology enabled on that particular tunnel.
If you're looking for consistent, high quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
They had to have five, 4, 5, 6, 7 people on site to be able to run the tunnel. So we're really looking at how can we create that efficiency and put as much work as we can on this particular tunnel.
When I hear you talk about the staff, right, and the efficiency, I want to dive in a little bit here. When you're talking about, in between, the full service with a coffee bar and then, where it's self service. Are you specifically referring to like those ones where you go through, someone may be waving you through, but you're not getting out of your car, and then at the end, you'll be washing down the car with not washing down, but I should say you have an opportunity to like vacuum and nozzle, that type of thing, but where you're staying in the vehicle?
Yeah, so there's different packages that you can get. So when we have an express, when we convert one of these tunnels into our business model, and our business model is anybody can look it up, Hurricane Car Wash. Hurricane Car Wash, we have 4 different packages. So package number 1, basic package. You're staying in your car, you're just coming in, going through the tunnel. Maybe you, depending on the package and the location, maybe you get a free vacuum at the end. Very like bare bones. As you scale up in packages, the tunnel will now wax your tires, do wax on the car, maybe do some of these higher end finishes, so to speak. Maybe one every time, one every fourth time that you go through the tunnel. It keeps track of all that. But yeah, what we're doing is we're removing that army of people that are vacuuming the car and riding the car through the tunnel. You're staying in the car. A lot of our tunnels are enabled with lights, very family friendly. We actually, when we were looking at buying, we actually bought one initially, like during COVID. You know, uh, parents were taking their kids as like a pastime activity
Yeah,
into there, right? Like they couldn't go to a soccer practice, but hey, they can run, errands with mom and dad. Hey, let's go ride through a tunnel. And there's like, all this music. We had a trunk or treat for Halloween at a couple of our locations. And yeah, like the tunnel's decorated and you can ride through the on the conveyor belt, so to speak, and take a look at all the decorations in the tunnel too. So there's just
now,
so many different cool things you can do.
um, when we talk about the exit strategy with these deals, are these, long term buy and hold plays? Is that are these treated like businesses in a sense where, hey, we don't necessarily have a plan in place to sell them in 5 years like you might with multifamily, or if you're syndicating or buying with a fund, but that this is a long term cash flow opportunity? And I have a second part to that question, but first, is it treated like a 5-year exit like you see in a lot of multifamily, or is this more of a long-term play?
Well, so I'll answer the question, from an operator perspective, but also as a limited partner perspective. So from an operator perspective, operators are very much pressured, like us as the sponsor, to put out a pro forma. If we just say, hey, it's an infinite hold, limited partners are going to be like, I don't understand where my return is. And, they want to see a finite time. So we really try to educate our investors like, hey, we're showing you a 5 to 7 year pro forma, but we want to orient you around that this is a cash flowing business that if it's, we're growing to success, that we could hold in perpetuity. Like we could, do the long hold. And so that's where, if there's an investor coming in that's looking for a quick fix and flip, needs their money back in 3 to 5 years, express car washes probably aren't the investment for you. If you're flexible and can wait to recoup your investment through cash flow, additional equity events like a refinance or something like that, and then hold for the long term, Express Car Wash or Express Car Wash Fund can be a great pairing for you in your portfolio. But yes, they are business. They're not like the traditional transactional real estate of having a single family rental lease or even a multifamily lease. They are seasonal businesses too.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
So most of our holdings are in the southeast part of the United States. And so while we have great weather, we're not necessarily worried about any sort of water restriction. Sometimes we get too much rain. And when we have too much rain, people aren't, propelled to wash their cars. They got a free nature wash, So we have to orient the investor's mindset that this is a business that you're investing in, not, something that has that smooth, predictable cash flow month to month. We're going to be looking at smoothing out the cash flow on a quarterly and biannual basis.
Do you also own the underlying land, or are these leases for the land?
Our approach with Hurricane Car Wash, all of our car washes that we own the land. It is a viable strategy to actually build a car wash on leased land. But the problem is what happens when the lease is up, and if your business plan isn't complete, right? You're now introducing some factors into your underwriting that you may not be able to overcome, either through a refinance or a sale, or if the landlord just says, "Hey, lease is up. Sorry, you got to like take, demo your tunnel. Like I'm moving on to the next tenant. I'm selling to a hotel developer."
Right.
Right?
And
You can't control that. So we want to control as many of the variables as possible.
when we talk specifically about acquisitions, right? I'm thinking now that I have a better picture of the scope here. By the way, are they? It's Hurricane. What's the brand? Hurricane.
Hurricane Car Wash.
Are they in Texas? Are you in Texas?
We currently aren't. We were looking to enter the Texas market,
Okay.
but it takes a lot. So our property management company is based out of the Carolinas, and we were looking to open up a hub. And there's a very strong competition. I would say almost an overbuild in the south part of Texas.
Yeah.
And so we actually had some properties twice under contract in Texas, and they fell through for various reasons, but primarily, without getting into the non-disclosure part of things, overbuild.
So you're the center is the East Coast or in the Carolinas. That's where a lot of them are.
Yeah, Carolinas, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, all the way up the East Coast into Virginia.
When we talk about acquisitions for these deals, are these going to be, undeveloped land? Would there be a pre-existing structure there? And then also, how do you find an ideal location? And then also, how do you find the right type of seller to work with when you're buying property like that?
Yeah, so I'll work kind of backwards on that. Our acquisition strategy is twofold. We have a ground up development, and then we also have existing acquisition. Now, if our investors, we don't make them participate in the ground up and the operational side of the business, they get to choose. So if we are doing ground up development, we will do that in a separate fund, or at least we have to date. And then whenever it goes into, when we're done with the developing piece and we want to flip it over to operations, right? We're done, we're ready to operate, then a different entity structure and potentially different investor base will, invest in that side of the business, and we exit the investors that were solely in the development side. So uh I'll tell a story. We originally started the bulk of our portfolio. It's easiest to scale existing nearly stabilized property. Anybody knows that. Single family rentals, that's why a lot of people get in turnkey, right? Existing multifamily. And as you build your skill set, as you get your systems in place, you can take on more and more and more risk. I would never suggest to any individual investor, hey, if you got a cool 4 to 5 million laying around, go buy some land and build your car wash from the ground up. Like let's bite off like, a little bit in stages here, in milestones. So we started off buying from existing mom and pop owners. Now, we targeted, car washes are businesses. They're valued based on EBITDA, earnings before depreciation, interest, taxes, and amortization. What does that mean? Profit. They're valued based on profit and a multiple of that profit. So we were looking to purchase from, especially if we could, multiple locations from mom and pop owners, ones that could only get to 2, 3, or 4 car washes. And we're just tired, ready to exit. And we look to get in on those car washes at a 7.5 to 10x multiple. When at that time, car washes were trading closer to 12x. That's what we're eyeing for exit, 12 to 14, 12 to 15x on that EBITDA multiple after we do our value add strategy. And I was going to pause there, but long story short, that's the acquisition part of the strategy. When we do the ground up development, the story part of this is we actually bought a property in Florida. And, I think our cost basis all in is like somewhere between $9 to $10 million. And then we bought raw land. It was actually already improved land in Gaston, South Carolina. And we built a car wash. And that property in Gaston, South Carolina actually um, has the same profit as the one that we have that have the higher cost basis on. So why is that? Is because it just takes more to operate a larger car wash, right? There's more overhead, CapEx, expenses. And we could actually, from the ground up model, we could put in all the equipment that we wanted in initially. We weren't having to reverse engineer a tunnel or anything like that. So as we move forward, we'll probably continue to buy existing, car washes, but also do the ground up development so we can be in at a lower cost basis.
I do want to pivot a bit here and ask you about uh, working with newer investors. I know we were talking before the show that you also work with newer investors, really guiding them through their journey. And there's so much people all the time are asking me, what's the best area of real estate for me to get involved in? Do I get a short term rental? Do I start with a flip? Should I buy something on market, off market? Do I go knock doors, foreclosure auctions? Right? And everyone's got a different perspective. When working with newer investors, what's your feedback for them?
Well, so most of the investors I work with have already probably been in real estate in some form or fashion, and they're looking to exit their active holdings. Maybe they're a landlord or they own their own business. They already had the short term rentals and they're tired. They want out. They know that that's not passive income and they're ready to reposition those assets and go into truly passive assets where they're hiring a professional manager or an operator or partnering with them and splitting the rewards. Now, if I'm encountering somebody who's just brand new, like is stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, has no idea about the private equity space, or even like, do they want to do single family rentals versus private equity investing? My first question actually to them is like, what do you want? Right? What do you want in terms of the portfolio? What do you want it to do for you? Do you want it to produce cash flow, equity, protect capital, create diversification? Everybody wants the return. Everybody wants the tax benefit, but not all investors can actually take on that risk or have the risk capacity to actually take that on. And I think that's what we saw in the past 3 to 4 years. There was a huge rush to get into private capital assets, and people just didn't understand the risk. They didn't understand that even when you're in a passive investment, you still need to have liquidity. You have to have patience. We can't expect any one investment to take care of everything. I mean, create cash flow, equity growth, and give you tax benefits. We need to look across the whole portfolio. So I go back to that investor and I say, what do you want? What do you need your portfolio to do for you? Are you wanting to trade time to get that? Okay. If they are, then maybe active investing, like the 1 to 4 units or a small multifamily unit or the short term rentals are fine. If they're like, man, I already have a job and I have a family and I love going fishing on the weekend or hunting on the weekend. Okay, great. Let's not do this actively. What capacity do we have to do this passively? And once we start creating the backing in from what I call the vision side of things, we can actually create what we call in the business world alignment. We're actually picking the right investment tactic, right? Because you led with questions, and most investors do. They lead based with tactic without going back to the strategy. Like, what actually should they be doing?
Yeah, that's critical. I had someone tell me, if you want to do Airbnb hosting, do you like being a host? Right? And people may not think, hey, well, this is an investment. I can outsource or what have you. I could hire property management. On some level, it's still going to come back to, hey, do you like being a host? Because you could buy notes. Uh you could invest in funds and syndication. So what's the strategy that works best for you? What would you be most likely to be enthused by and get behind? Because to your point, Whitney, if folks were told, hey, here's your $30,000 investment and I'll give you back 60 and 90 in this much time, who's going to say no to that? But if it's through a different lens of, hey, this is what time frame is expected, here's the risk profile, here's how much is needed from you as far as effort or underlying skill base, then that's going to be a different conversation. We are coming up on time here, though, Whitney. Where can folks go? Where can our audience members go to reach out to you and your team, as well as are there any new projects that you're working on right now?
Well, I actually want, if I can indulge me, I'd like to stack on top of that is once that you understand what you want, now we got to understand your risk alignment, right? Like you just brought up a great point. If somebody invested 30K and I told you as an operator, I can get you 60 or 90 back in a particular time period, you got to ask yourself, am I okay with the risk? Just because I outsource to somebody else doesn't mean that that's actually what I need. I was talking to an investor this morning and she told me, I don't need the cash flow. And I'm like, wait, you just told me you had to pay for your kids' college in 3 years. Yes, you need cash flow. You just don't need it now. So how about we get you in a cash flowing deal like our debt fund, real estate debt fund, and we get you cash flow now. You just stick it in the bank and reinvest. You're going to get an equity like return with a conservative investment. So there's a lot of questions. I really encourage people, reach out to me. You can find me at Whitney at passiveinvesting.com. I also have a YouTube channel at passiveinvesting.com. There you can get all the data, download insights out of my head, anything passive investing. And really just to help to build your education and make sure you're getting into passive investing correctly. And maybe you are a seasoned investor and you need to reposition your portfolio or build new skills. I have plenty of material there as well. As far as new projects, we are super excited to actually our Regulation A cash flow bonds um, uh, just got approved. That's our new business, cash flow bonds. It invests in, it's a blended note investing asset between multifamily equipment lending and some, rehab notes. Has a little bit more risk to it, but is open to sophisticated investors, and they can go to cashflowbonds.com.
Whitney, thank you so much for taking the time today. Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Dylan.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.